that way, I think what they can do with that is make sure that, you know, apparently there's no virus in the email, or I don't know what. So that way it's sort of our professional quote unquote space where we use Concordia address to mail each other. So they say that I shouldn't even respond if I get an email from somebody who wrote to me from their personal address. So I'll try to do that, but you know, if I see somebody who's desperate, maybe I get a warm heart and still answer that person. But keep that in mind. Write to me using your Concordia address. Yeah, so everything should be on Moodle. So when you guys access Moodle, you should be able to access it. All right.
Sir, there's nothing on Moodle.
Yeah, she just called me to tell me it was rectified, but yeah, maybe it's still not. It's going to be my my task for today to make sure that this is rectified. So now we just have to start, because otherwise we're going to get behind and you're not going to be too happy. But of course, so yeah, hopefully tonight it should work. Okay, so how is this going to work? So for the class we have, well, let's start with the textbook. So that's the textbook. They provide a set of slides with it. So Reagan Macroeconomics Canadian edition. And we're going to follow the set of slides. Yeah, and I'm going to comment on them. And the slides follow pretty much the book, but you know, I cannot go into as much detail as you can find in the book. So it's good to see the book. I think you should have access.
Sir,
Yeah.
will the course outline be on Moodle?
Yes, everything is going to be on Moodle.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's for that. Now for how you're going to be evaluated. So it's a mixture of many things. So first of all, labs, which are some questions that you access from Moodle. So yeah, it's just so sad that you don't have access to Moodle, because my message for you today is, if you use Moodle, you're going to have a good time. But if you don't use Moodle, you're going to have a bad time. If you remember this South Park episode where you have the ski instructor saying, yeah.
For the book, we have to purchase it like a textbook or like online?
Yeah, it's online, and yeah, so I think you can already access it on Moodle. Yeah, that's a detail I just forgot about. So whether you have to buy it or not, but anyways, if you have to buy it, buy it. It's going to be very useful for you. And you access everything through Moodle. So I'm going to show you all the details of how this works, so you don't get lost. And if you do, then email me and I'm going to help you. All right, so yeah, so you access these labs that are just labs that you have to do at every few weeks to make sure that you follow up, that you understand the material. They are simple, but you have to do them. And once the deadline is finished, so you have sometimes to do them, and then once the deadline is finished, then they're available for you to practice on. So it's good practice for the midterm exams, which are both 20% too, and then the final exam is 30%. So there's no date for the final exam. As usual, it's confirmed later. Yeah, so this is what I was saying. So please use your Concordia email if you want to email me. Yeah, so as I was saying, we have to move on. So that's why today it's a bit stressful that we lost 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but I'm going to try to make up for it. Yeah, so all the lectures are going to have this format. So they're recorded. I'm recording the session right now. And so if you, for some reason, miss a class, then you can just go on Moodle and you can click on the class and listen to it again. Yes. Office hours, I have office hours on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's written up there. Yeah, it's 4:15 to 5:30 on Zoom, but I've also added same time, but in person in office at Concordia. So just in case you don't want to talk to me on Zoom, you can talk to me there. The office hours are not recorded. All right, so these are the labs. So each lab is worth 1.5%. There are 14 of them. Yeah, I'm going to show you. Also, when you do a lab, then when you answer a question, then that's your answer. You cannot like try 3 times because oftentimes there are multiple choice answers. So you try one, and then if you try 3 times, then there's only one left. Yeah. So about the chat, I see that so many people are chatting. So I realized. So normally for a smaller class, I think you can pretty much say anything. But exam are online too. But now, please, for the discussions, what I'm going to try to do is still monitor the chat for the class. But obviously, that means that try to ask very useful question for the whole class. Otherwise, I can't spend my whole time answering questions. Otherwise, we can't see anything. Okay, so 2 midterms. This I'm going to skip on it because I'm going to be able to tell more about it when we get closer to it. It can be deferred, but yeah, there are some rules that I have to follow that are rather strict. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you have to do that on your own. Yes.
For the book, we should buy it from the online store of Concordia, or should we go buy it like a hard copy?
Yeah, no, you shouldn't buy a hard copy. You should go on Moodle and click on the link. I'm going to show how it's done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, these are details. I let you read them when you have time. Drop-in centers are the equivalent of TA hours, but they are going to be online too. So basically you can ask questions to the TAs. They start at week 3, so I can give you more detail when this comes. So basically that allows you to ask questions about exercises and stuff you don't understand. Because since it's for many of you the first real exposure to economics, don't worry if it sounds strange or challenging at first. Different than the economics that you hear talked about on TV, because this is academic economics. But so it's normal if it's not that clear. And you can ask questions. I'm going to make them clearer. So this is study group sessions. Yeah, so many details that you can see more better later. Third-party software. Okay. Skip on that. All right. Okay, so this is the schedule. So normally today, introduction and economic issues and concepts. So obviously we're not going to have time to finish chapter 1. Even with the old class, it's way too long. It's very long introduction, but so we're going to finish it so September 9 on Thursday. And then hopefully go on to demand, supply, and price. Yeah, and so if you want to more or less have an idea of how things are going to progress, so this is a tentative schedule. I'm going to adjust whether in case I have too many questions, too few questions. So yeah, we're discovering the joy of teaching online, and yeah, you're going to discover whether you like economics or not, whether this is for you or not. So this is a really, so what's this class about? It's really a whole overview of microeconomics, but hopefully with not too much math in it. So some math is unavoidable, but yeah, it's more about concepts, some graphs, and understanding basic ideas. And later on, if you're comfortable with it, or if you're doing your whole degree in economics, then don't worry, we're going to use a lot of that later. Okay, yeah, so you can see, so what's very useful for you here is, I guess, these things, because then for example, you can see that on September 26, you have to have done lab 1 and lab 2. And then, yeah, something October 3, October 10. So you see, that's why we have to move on. We cannot take too much, take too long for some section. Otherwise, you don't have the material to do the labs for free. Okay, many questions in the discussion. Okay, so these are.
We're just trying to figure out a chat so that we don't flood your Zoom chat.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, so yeah, that was a super quick overview. I wish I could have done it more in detail, but we cannot spend too long. Is there some really burning questions about the class outline that you're worrying about? Otherwise, I'm going to show what the Moodle page looks like.
Yes, is the final exam online?
Yes, all the exams are online.
Okay, thank you.
So everything I'm going to say is, you know, using my best knowledge at this point, but I might make a mistake somehow. So you please don't hire a lawyer and sue me if I made a mistake and no, it's not online, it's offline. Anyways, we're training with the pandemics too, but yeah, my impression is that this all class is online.
Sir?
Yes.
Can you give us like a preview of like each class, what each class material will cover, like before the class starts, like 2 days before, something like that?
Yes, that's a good point. Let me write it down. So yeah, the question is, what will you have access to in Moodle? I think you have access to a lot of things, but so maybe even the slides in advance. And at the beginning of the slides, you get some short summary of what you should learn during the class, and you can look at them. But yeah, that's a good question. So let me write it down.
So sorry for disturbing. What are my labs?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please, what are my labs?
Oh, my labs. Yeah, I'm going to show that to you. Okay, so yeah, so that's a good segue into showing you the Moodle page where your life should be from now on. Your destiny is to look at Moodle. Okay, so let me share this screen right now. Okay, well, actually, no. Let me start from the beginning. So this is my Moodle page. You're not going to see all the stuff that I can see, of course, but yeah, this is how it should look like. Yeah, so I think these are normally you should see them. So all the slides. And so what's important for you? So these are instructions of how to use MyLab. These are the course outline. This is the link for the Zoom session if you miss it. And then, yeah, what's important is this thing. So you access everything from Moodle. It's preset so that you get the right thing. If you go and try to buy the book by yourself and do the stuff by yourself, okay, fine, but you might not be able to register properly to the stuff. So yeah, so to have the material, you click on, let me do it again, click on MyLab and Mastering. And here you get, so here is where you get the link to all the class materials. So click on MyLab and Mastering. Hopefully that works. Or not. Well, using my other browser, it used to work.
On Moodle for
What you say?
It's not being accessible to me. I have only one class accessible to me on Moodle, and Econ is not in it. But
Okay,
I found
yeah.
the link to the Zoom class from my mail.
Yes, so this is going to be accessible to you. Yeah, I hope today. So why can't I access MyLab? Let me try with my other browser. All right, yeah, so this is work. So let me share my other. So it looks like Firefox has a hard time. Okay, so this is what you should be seeing when you click on this, that it opens a new tab where you have all the things you need, so you can explore. This is you're not going to see this, of course. This is instructor, but then here you can click on the text. And if you don't have it already, you should buy it. Wow, why is internet so slow today? Maybe everybody's trying to access it, because normally it's very quick.
I think it pops up in the bottom of your screen.
Oh yeah, maybe is it this? Yeah, it is. Here it is. Okay, so this is the old textbook. So let me show you the outline. Reagan Microeconomics. And yeah, it's so everything is accessible there. It's very nicely done. If you're looking for some concept, you can search. So for instance, so that was my last research disagreement. And then it tells me where it is. In the text, I can find it. You can edit it. Haven't looked too much at it, but yeah, I think you can add notes to it. So you can. I really encourage you to read it, to look at it, because yeah, there's way more details than what we can see in the class. Yeah, price floors, everything. So there. So that's the textbook. So you have it through again. Click on this and then Pearson eText. Okay, so yeah, it's at the bottom. So that's the textbook. Now, assignments are here. Yeah, and this is the list of the all the labs you have to do. You click on them and you answer the questions. And so you know what the dates they are due. Homework, I'm not too sure. I think there are no homework per se. Or yeah, that's the labs again. Yeah. So I'm not an expert in this. I'm discovering it. Yeah, I've discovered it a few days ago. But yeah, it seems pretty well done. If you don't understand, you can email them because that's a company that sells this service, so they can help you understand how it's done. Or you can email me and I can try to help you. Chapter resources, yeah, there are a lot of different things. So yeah, that's what you have to know. Okay, so I think with that we should move on to the class. And again, if there are really big gaps in the understanding, later classes I'm going to help you again navigate through this and understand what's going on with it. Okay, so
Sir,
yes.
are the labs graded?
What?
Are the labs graded?
Yes, they are graded, but so it's very little. So all the labs, there are 14 of them, and the total is 20% of your grade. So the idea is to make them, so make sure that you at least have some incentive to do well, but it's not bad if you not do well in one lab, because the midterms and the final are worth much more than the labs.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we obtain the book like on the paper version, or do we have to use it online? Is there a paper version available?
No, the Canadian law forbids you to buy the book. No, I'm kidding. You can buy the book like you want. So it's Reagan 14th edition, microeconomics. Yeah. It's just that it's well integrated with the stuff. You have the right edition, and it doesn't prevent you from actually using Moodle and going on there doing the labs. But if you prefer a paper version, I know a lot of people prefer paper versions, then you can use that for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so this was a quick overview. The thing is, since you can't even click on it because you can't access Moodle yet, then it's that's
sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. I can't access the Econ or Moodle.
Yeah, no, nobody can. That's the thing.
Okay, not yet.
Yeah, so it's not fixed yet, but hopefully it's going to be fixed tonight. Hopefully. Okay, with that in mind, let's start the class because it's been already quite. So I'm just checking really quick Yeah. All right. So, anyways, you can find most of the stuff you need. Okay. So let's start with lecture 1.
Professor?
Yeah.
There's going to be slides posted to Moodle, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, everybody can see this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so as I was saying, this is a large overview of microeconomics. It's meant to introduce you to lots of the detail about the way economists think, and some formalism, but not too much. So here's how I view economics. So I think economists are people that can explain ideas. So for instance, what is inflation, or what is what is a budget or what is anything that has to do with economics questions, which we're going to define later. And then they can explain them well with words. So if you just have to explain it to your aunt or to somebody who doesn't have a good scientific background. And in graphs, so in graphs is good if you have to explain it to some decision maker in government. So you use a graph, and we often say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if you have a good graph, it's and we're going to at least I hope make a good graph today. And it's almost very little time, but yeah, we have to hope that we can make up for the time less. And in math, so what I mean by math is using numbers to quantify your theories and to give examples and to give quantifiable predictions, because at some point that economics it's debatable whether it's a science or not, but there is a scientific aspect to it, which is to build model about the world and make predictions with those models. So that's the same thing if you say, I predict that the weather tomorrow is going to be sunny or cloudy, you're using your weather model to make a prediction. Economics is the same. It's saying, I predict that so when we get out of COVID, economic activity should start again. So that's a very easy prediction to make. But that's a prediction. That's a model of how I think the world works. But then if I want to say, I think the economy is going to start increasing by 2% or 5%, then that's a quantity that I have to compute, and so I have to use math to do that. So again, here it's mostly concepts, but later on in your path of as economists, you're going to see that. So for you, if you have a good quantitative background in some class that required or some discipline that required math, so maybe the math is going to look simple, but then what's going to be hard is to translate everyday ideas about how people decide, how firms decide, into economic models and formulae and graphs. But on the other side, if you're not too good with math, then first, don't worry, it's never too late to learn it. But actually, so for you, it's going to be, you might have a better intuition about how are things going on. But then translating it into math is going to be more difficult. But so we are here to do that. We are here to show you how it's done. So are the concepts that we're showing the truth? Not necessarily. It's to the best of our scientific knowledge. So if you have things that you disagree with during the class, don't hesitate to tell me. If you see that I'm making a mistake, then tell it. You're just going to look like a genius, and everybody is going to think, wow, that's a very smart person. And it's super helpful to your colleagues, to your student colleagues. Or if I do some spelling mistake, it's shameful for me, but maybe I'm going to do some. So if you see some, you can tell me. All right. So let's go ahead. What should we learn? What should we have been learning today? So what is economics? So what is economics is so I've been telling you a bit so far, but this is more in detail. So what are we studying? We're studying society and how it organizes, who produces what, who sells it to whom, who gets to buy it, to consume it, how firms work. And all of these things are two aspects of the same coin, if you want. So you have a micro aspect, which is here, which is that it's formed of firms and of people, consumers, for instance, or workers. And so that's the micro aspect of it, that is microeconomics. So, and these people, all of these agents, we assume that they're rational, so they think and they make decisions. So we are really interested in how do they make these decisions? Why do I choose to buy an apple, or go to the movies, or go to the class to study at Concordia or work? These are super interesting questions that we are trying to model properly and to understand. And then there's the aspect that we all live in a society. We all buy from each other, give service and goods to each other. So there's the sum of all these interactions, which is what we call markets. And the sum of all the markets together is what we say is the whole economy, and what we generally study in macroeconomics with that A. Yes. Macroeconomics. Sum of all markets. All right. Yeah, so that's one thing. And yeah, so this is, I already told you. So the market is seen as self-organizing. So that's what we're going to see is that this is a great feature of how markets work, which is very good to guarantee efficiency. But are there alternatives to a market economy? Well, yes, because if we were in the 70s or 80s, then there might be some part of the class that would be centrally planned economics that would maybe look at the Soviet Union or China back in these days. And usually people would look at one system, the other system, and compare them to each other. Nowadays, we still have, let's say, maybe North Korea still that you could say is really planned. Cuba is more or less being liberalized, and yeah, the whole world is more or less becoming a market economy, and China is a market economy too. So at the end, we really like to understand how market economies work, since that's what we have on offer. So, but there are still a good way to understand market economies is to look at alternatives and see what makes them special. Yeah. So one basic feature is, of course, that there's specialization, trade, money to exchange stuff. We're all going to see that. Marginal decision, I'm going to come back to it. Yeah. Mixed economies, what we mean by mixed economies, we mean that there's always some part of an economy that's played by the government and some part that's not played by the government. We don't have maybe a totally free economy would be something like the Far West in the United States in the 19th century, maybe. So you really have no central authority to do anything almost, so you have to rely on yourself. But nowadays, almost all states work in similar fashion to some degree, so there's a more or less important part in the state, as we're going to see. Okay, so what kind of things are we interested in? Productivity growth. So that looks at it's more of a macro question that we're not going to look too much, but still it's linked to technological growth. Is it increasing or decreasing? Well, there's debate on that. So on the one hand, you can see that, yeah, we all have these new technologies that are always coming online. But at the same time, in the data, economists are not too sure about it. So that's a pressing issue of today. aging. So how do we pay for retirement? How do we manage the fact that people are getting older? Do we have to raise the retirement age? Are you going to be able to pay for my pension when I retire? That's a good question. I hope so. So I'm going to teach you well so you become productive members of society. Climate change is a good topic. By the way, if you're interested in that, and next year you can take my class on it. So I'm teaching that. Yeah, technological change is obviously a big part of why productivity is growing. So that's more of a macroeconomic question. Protectionism. Does somebody know what that means?
Protectionist? Or
Yeah.
It's when you're like Biden did. He put measures to I don't know how to explain it. To limit the free market, I don't know how to explain it, but he put measure to slow down the exchange, to
Yes.
consume more American product and less.
Are you looking for this word there?
Oh, yes.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, protectionism is setting up barrier to free trade. So that's with the GATT after 1945, and then with the WTO, the World Trade Organization, there was a big wave of getting rid of protectionism, but it just looks like it's a good way of gaining votes to say, oh, I'm going to protect my workers by raising barriers to trade. So that's that's an important issue of today again that economists know a lot about, and maybe we can get to that a bit, or depends on the time we have. Growing income inequality. Is income inequality growing or shrinking? What do you think?
Probably growing.
According to what I understood, it really depends on the economy and country. First world countries, it's growing, but they claim at least that there are more opportunities to elevate yourself from a low social economic status to a high social economic status.
So yeah, I like all of what you've said. So in recent years, what we have been seeing is that within rich economies, inequality is growing a lot, especially at the top. So the richest people are extremely rich. They're living lives that have nothing to do with our poor lives here. But if you compare countries together, then many countries are getting richer overall. There's a middle class that's appearing in China, India, in Vietnam, in African countries even, and they're making a lot of progress compared to where they were, say, 50 years ago. So the overall inequality in the world is more or less stable, but within countries it's kind of growing, and between countries decreasing. But that's a super fascinating topic too, that you may learn more about if you continue to study economics. All right, so again, what is economics? So what is microeconomics especially? So it's the study of the use of scarce resources to satisfy unlimited human wants. So do people agree with this, that human wants are unlimited or not?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that's an easy class. Because sometimes people don't always agree, and then I have this to show them. Share my screen. Yeah, so I found that on at the internet. You can buy that if you are bored with normal toilet paper. You can buy a golden toilet paper. So if you have tons of money, you always have things that you can do with them, with it. So that's what we assume. We assume that people always find new ways to spend their money. Or even if you're Elon Musk, then you just say, oh well, I can build my own rocket and go to Mars and yeah, so you can always find new ways to spend your money. So that's why we see that the human wants are unlimited. That's an assumption. So when we're talking about assumption, that's one. We assume that this is the case. It's not the case for everybody. If you're a Buddhist monk, maybe you think that consumption is bad and you should just meditate all day and have very few things. Thing is, it's something that's more or less the case for most people, so it's useful to use that as an assumption in our models. And then the problem is that resources are not infinite. And if they are not infinite, then we have to decide how do we allocate them. So what resources do we have? Well, we have resources like like land, labor, capital. You could include energy in that. So that's part of natural endowments. So the sun, for instance. And capital, you might hear things like physical capital. And you can hear things like human capital. So we're sort of organizing this as categories of resources, but oftentimes we talk about capital as what we use to produce things. And land can be part of the capital, labor can be part of the capital. So we say that it's human capital that includes especially education, for instance. And experience, all of this, all of what you're going to get in the future. Yes, Youssef Ahmad.
Yes, Doctor. I had a question. It's written that the use of scarce resources. How is labor scarce? There's always a need for workers. Like workers aren't gonna stop being workers. Sami.
Depends in which country.
So it depends who you're asking for to. So, but right now, like today, we are emerging from COVID more or less, but in many industries in Montreal, restaurants, or cinemas or anything that have to do with interaction with public, they're saying there's labor shortage. They can't find people to work for them. And why? So from their perspective, so they themselves are the firm, and what they are looking for as resource is people to work for them. So for them, labor is scarce. And so what they might say is, oh, well, if labor is too scarce, then I'm going to, I don't know, install an automatic machine for a ticket machine and get rid of the people at the counter entirely, for instance. So that's from their perspective, humans are scarce.
I think it also has to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it also has to do with like certain industries, you're only allowed to work for a certain number of hours per day. I think that would be a sort of a limit on if for truck drivers are only allowed to drive about like 13 hours a day, then they have to stop so that they're not driving.
Yeah,
like
at the end of the day, that's the only thing that makes us human, is that that's the only thing that we all have in common, is our time is limited. So even if I'm a millionaire or a billionaire, I know my life is short and I have to make the most of it. And as you say, if I'm a worker, I know that I cannot work 40 hours per day. It's limited to at most 24, and after 12 hours of work, then I don't want to work anymore. So you're absolutely right. So these are all constraints that we have to deal with. So I know that if my time is short, I cannot be with my family, for instance. All right, moving on as fast as possible. Yeah, so economists call resources factors of production. That's what firms use to produce. But if I'm a self-employed person, then my resource is myself. And we divide that into goods and what we produce in goods and services. So the only difference is that a service is not something that you can take with your bare hands, but otherwise it's just like a normal good because you can buy it and you're happy when you get it. So if I get my clothes clean, then I'm happy. If I buy an apple, I'm happy. All right. Yeah, goods are tangible, services are intangible. Yeah, go ahead.
Please, when I used to do economics, because I stopped, we used to define economics as the quantity of goods and services that an individual is willing and able to purchase at a particular price within a given period of time. That's how we used to define economics.
Well, that's a budget constraint. We're going to define the budget constraint later. So what you're saying is, what am I as a person able to buy at the current price? So that's my budget.
At a given period of time.
Yeah, so yeah, if you want, it can be a year, or it can be my whole life, or it can be a day. So yes. So, yeah, I don't want to get into details, but we're going to define to do more or less everything without thinking about time, because time is complicated. It's something that we see later in macro classes, so we don't want to get into the weeds.
Okay,
all right.
thank you.
But good question, good question.
Please, one last question.
Yeah.
There are 4 definitions of economics, one given by Adam Smith, another one by George Stuart Mill, another one by Alfred Marshall, and another one by Edwin Mansfield. Which one you say is the best, actually?
I don't know them by heart. So, oh, wow, that's a very good question. Usually I give a different definition that is more tailored to the particular class I'm giving. So, yeah, did I come up with, yeah, but we just gave a definition there, so I don't want to give multiple definition. So that would be one. Explain the importance of scarcity, choice, opportunity cost, how each is illustrated by the production possibility boundary. Oh, sorry, that's learning. Yeah, okay, that's a definition. I had one. Okay, we have to move on, but I'm going to give you my best definition next time, if you want.
Okay, so thank you.
But so what I have to tell you is it's not like the end of the world to have. It's not like, oh, if I give you the best definition there is, you're going to understand everything. At some point, you have to understand the concept that we're teaching. And this is the sum total of what we mean by economics.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so we talked about this. So yeah, the class finishes at 10, right? So do you have something to do later? Otherwise, I can go on a bit because we wasted like 25 minutes at the beginning.
Yeah, I do have class in 15 minutes.
I have a class later.
Yeah, same. Yeah, me too. I gotta go.
So, but you have to go like, can you like make it 5 more minutes maybe?
For me, the thing is the gym is B, and I'm at the res right now, so I have to walk there.
I have to go right now. I have to. My dog has to be let out of his cage.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to see what can be done about, but yeah. So as you see, if we don't go fast, then you don't have enough material to do the labs. So I really don't want to take too long. Okay, so we can say that we end up here, and I'm going to make sure that Moodle is up next time, and then move on with the rest. All right. So
you could continue because it's recording. So if he missed 5 minutes, I don't know if it's okay with him, but he could take that 5 minutes later.
yeah, it's a good suggestion actually.
So,
yes.
is this PowerPoint going to be available for us?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's yeah. So we're not responsible for the time lost at the beginning. So I think it's it would be a judicious thing to follow up a bit on. So let me introduce you at least one important concept. So yeah. Okay. So first of all, scarcity. What is it? Relative to our desire, existing resources are scarce. We already said that. Every choice has an associated cost, which is opportunity cost. So have you ever heard of the term opportunity cost before?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what is an opportunity cost of studying at Concordia?
Not studying at McGill.
Oh yeah, okay, sure.
Instead, just going to the workforce. That's also
yes, exactly.
A missed opportunity.
So we have, so when people think of costs, usually we think of out of pocket or accounting cost. Like for Concordia, it would be student fees, buying these textbooks. Etc. But opportunity cost is everything else you're giving up, plus everything else that you could have bought with the money you spend to study at Concordia. So,
is it in French? Is it coût de renonciation?
Yeah, coût de renonciation or coût d'opportunité.
Okay, thank you.
So things that you could have bought with the money. And then time, experience on the job, etc. So that's everything that you're actually taking into account when you're making the decision. So that's what economists care about, because that's what people care about. So we don't think about it, but at the back of your head, that's always there. Okay, and now the moment we're going to use a bit of math to understand the budgets. So I think I'm going to take like maybe 15 minutes here, and then we're going to start with this again at the next class, because that's something it's good that you still think at the back of your head tonight, for instance. Okay, so how do we model choice? Well, first of all, we start with the consumer perspective. That's the easiest way to look at it. And what we want to look at is what can people buy with their money, and what do people have to sacrifice if they choose something. So for instance, let's say we have this situation there. I have $16 in my pockets. So that's the only amount I can spend. And I have decided that I only going to spend it on beer or pizza. Obviously, that's not the case, but you're going to thank me for only looking at two goods, because if we could look at two goods, we can do these nice graphs here, and we can get most of the information that we need to get from these two goods. But obviously, we can have more goods into the decision making. But here is all the ingredients we need: $16. Cost of a beer is $4, and cost of pizza is $2. All right. And now what we're going to describe is all the possible amount of beer or pizza you can consume if you have $16. So for instance, can I buy 400 beers with my $16? Please say no.
Obviously not.
Yes, no. Okay. So that's a first limit right there. I'm limited by my budget. And if I already bought, say, 16 divided by 4, that's 4 beers. So how much do I have left in my pockets?
No money.
I have no money in my pockets. So it means that if I have decided that I want 4 beers, then too bad, I can have 0 slice of pizza. So that's exactly what we're going to show with this type of graph. But I'm going to make one myself. It's going to be easier. All right. So sharing my screen right now. Okay. So we have $16 price of beer, $4, and price of pizza. So I highly encourage you to do this thing on your own on a piece of paper. It's going to make it be easier for you to follow. Price of pizza, $2. Okay. Now we're going to represent all the combination of baskets that we can buy. By basket, I mean quantities of beer and pizza. So we're going to draw a graph. Okay, so if I have, so for instance, can I buy 1 beer and 1 pizza with my $16?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Why? Because I'm going to spend 4 plus 2 equals 6. So I still have money left. So let's say I put pizza here and beer here. So I could have 1 beer and 1 pizza would be here. So that's 1 pizza, 1 beer, and that's something that I can buy, all right? Because I still have money left. Now, can I could try all the possible combinations of beer and pizza, but you know, we don't have all day. So when we draw these graphs, the best way is to ask what are the extreme points on the graphs. So for instance, what is the maximum number of beers that I can buy?
4.
4. All right, so let's, oh, so this is a bit large. Let me do this smaller. All right, so 4 beer. What did we say? 4 pizza or 4 beer? 4 beer.
4 beer, 8 pizzas.
4 beer, and as you said, 8 pizzas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 is here. All right. If I bought 4 beer, how many pizzas can I buy?
0.
0. So I have 1 dot here. And so that's 0 pizza. And if I have 8 pizzas, how many beers can I buy?
0.
0. So that's here. And then how do I find all the possible combinations? So yeah, if you don't see it right away, don't worry, but it's all the linear combinations along this axis there. So what I can green. And this is all the possible combinations of beer and pizza. To show you that it's true. So for instance, if I have, say, 4 pizzas, how many beer maximum can I buy?
2 beers.
2 beers, yes. Because 4 pizzas, that's 4 times 2, 8. So how much money do I have in my pocket to buy the other good? That's 16 minus 8, 8. So 8 divided by the price of beer, 4. So I get 8 divided by 4 is 2, so 2 beer. So here it is. So you can see that everything that's on this line is what is when I spend all of my money. So how do we call this? We call this the budget line or constraint. So I heard budget constraint more often, but in the book it's called budget line, so we leave it there. And everything that's inside is the budget set. I don't know if there's a name for that in the book. I haven't found it. So everything there is what I can buy. And something here, can I buy that?
No.
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 No, because it's too expensive. I wish, but I'm not Warren Buffett. I don't have millions. I only have 16. So this is unattainable. Too expensive. All right. And now, question is, can somebody tell me? Question: why is the budget line negative? Oh yeah, by the way, a positive slope is this, and a negative slope is this, right? So this is, I'm going to use sometimes positive slope, negative slope. So positive, it goes up, and negative, it goes down. So question is, why is the budget line negative?
Because the more you buy stuff, the less money you have.
Yes.
It would mean that you have an infinite budget.
Yeah. I prefer the first, but yeah, it's all the same answers. But so first of all, what we have to realize is the budget line is the set of all possible baskets of goods that allows me to spend my own money. So yeah, it's both of you are right, actually. So what this means here is if I want to spend to buy one more pizza, so say I'm here and I want to buy one more pizza there. If I want to buy one more pizza, what do I have to give up? Well, since
Half a beer.
Yes, have a beer, exactly. I have to give up half a beer. So the budget line, the slope of the budget line is, yeah, so if I spend all money, all budget, and I want to buy one more unit of a pizza, I have to give up or spend yeah, okay, to give up half a slice of, well, no, half a beer. So then the slope is minus 0.5 divided by 1. So this is the slope of the budget curve. Now you might think, oh, but that's a lot of math, I'm uncomfortable. So I'm going to look at what is the type of questions that they ask in the midterms and final exams. But I'm pretty sure you don't have to go too deeply into the math. But yeah, I'm going to get back to you on that next week. But now I think it's very useful to see how this is built and where this comes from. Yeah, so this is the slope. And now I'm going to leave you here, but just ask you questions to think about. What happens if
Is there a variable within the slope there, or is it just that?
Is there a variable within the slope? Yeah, so the slope is so the slope of a curve is, of any curve in math, is how much does the function change when there's an increase in 1 unit on the x-axis. So here, if you increase the unit by one unit, the y-axis, there's a decrease in 1/2. And here it just so happens that it represents something. And what it represents is how much beer do I have to give up to consume one more slice of pizza.
Right. I was just saying, because in the slope equation that you put there, it just said 0.5/1. So I hadn't seen that before, like put that way.
Oh yes, sorry. Now I get it. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So, but usually economists don't put too much units in there, but units exist. Units are there. So with units, that's minus 0.5 beers per one pizza. Yeah, so the units of the slope would be beers divided by pizza. But this is technical. Don't worry about it. If it's just to be perfectly clear. But yeah, we don't think too much, especially at this level. It's an introductory class, and today is the introduction. So I really don't want to go into too much detail, but to show you what we mean. This is what we mean by budget. Yeah, Ruben, you have a question? Ruben?
No, sorry, I forgot to lower my hand. I just asked that question.
All right. What happens if my budget increases? Now, nobody answers me. You just think about this tonight. Question. What happens if the price of pizza increase? So how does that change my graph? So think about this. And yeah, so I have to let you go with that. Oh, Adam, question?
Hi, sir. Could you please scroll up a little for the full page, please?
Oh yeah, that was it. So I've given you a lot of stuff now. Okay, so if you're confused, it's perfectly normal. Don't panic. We're going to talk about it later. Okay, so
you want us to do for next class?
yeah, so we're continuing this next class.
Mr. Can I answer to the question right now?
Oh, okay. Yes, go ahead.
So we can clearly see that the slope will still stay negative as the price of pizza increases, because it all depends on the x variable. The more the x variable increases, the lower the slope will be.
Yes, exactly. Since it's negative. Yes. So if the price of pizza increases, I can buy fewer pizzas.
So if it was, for instance, if it was the opposite, if the price of beer increased, then we could see a slight change in the slope. But in this instance, it's clear that it all depends on the x variable.
Yes. Yes. And then the kicker question is, what if? So this is for advanced people. What if both prices double and my budget doubles?
Doesn't it stay the same?
Yes. Yes, it is. So that's a very useful concept in economics, which is that money is just an accounting tool. So if I double all the prices and double my budget, then who cares? The price of life is the same. I just have to spend twice, but since I have twice more money, it's the same. But yeah, so okay, now for people who have to go, I prefer to end the class here and continue here next time. All right.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thanks. Have a good day, and sorry again for.
Very much.
Sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Very much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Ciao, 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 ciao.
Thank you.
Arigato.
I have a
Thank you,
question.
sir.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Will it be the same link for next class?
Yes, for all classes, it's going to be the same.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.